Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Welcome back to my channel. It's good to see you. I thank God. It's another day, another week to share with you all. Welcome back to my faith table. I hope everybody had a safe week and a blessed week, especially now during these perilous times. These are real perilous times. This is the beginning of the end. Okay? And I want all of you all to be in the know, okay? And to be safe and to be of sound mind every day. Okay? That's part of God's ministry, knowing what's going on in the world. Okay? Not to be ignorant of the devices of the enemy. Okay? And so that's part of it. It's part of a mandate on all believers' lives to inform people that the enemy is real. And you don't have to have done anything. He'll look for you to destroy you and your family. And just like what's going on in Israel. And it will be going on here in the United States pretty soon. But with that said, we're not going to dwell on it, because we know God is in control. The best thing to do is to know who you are and who you belong to. Cast out fear. Okay? So we're going to pick it up from where we left off last week with say a little bit of review. But first, thanking God for another day to be here with you all, to share my story, to share my strength, to share His glory. Okay? And like I said, okay, so last week was an introduction. Okay? With the title, We Swearing to Tell the Truth. So we raising our right hand to God to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so that it will set somebody free. Okay? Let's see. Last week we went over what led me in the beginning to YouTube. Okay, because there was a lot going on during it, and it was the pandemic, and there was this pressure on me. I felt a lot of internal pressure, okay, from the Holy Spirit for me to open my mouth. I was belonging to this one particular church, and I just felt a lot of internal pressure for me to open my mouth and me to speak, because they were saying a lot of things that I was learning from the Bible that was contrary to His word. And it was just a lot going on. Okay? You all remember it was George Floyd. That's why I call 2020 the year of George Floyd. Okay? And it was the year of the pandemic. And there was a lot of pressure, okay, on me to open my mouth. And so I started blogging, I started YouTubing, and I was running into a lot of obstacles. Okay, and I know now that it was the enemy. Okay, and what God did to protect me, okay, and to enrich me, to protect me, He just told me to just sit down, because I kept getting sick. I mean, I had just got out the hospital. I had 3 hospitalizations right before the pandemic. I got discharged the day before the pandemic, March 19th, 2020. I got discharged for the 3rd time. And so God was just like, just take care of yourself. Just take care of yourself. This was what the Holy Spirit was telling me. And it was so difficult, because now we locked down. And with my condition, with this condition that I have, I'm supposed to walk. I'm supposed to try to get exercise. And I just wasn't able. I was still so weak getting out the hospital. And we couldn't go anywhere. You know, I had neighbors taking care of me. Praise God. You know, coming to my door, leaving, groceries for me. And they had started delivering groceries, like Walmart and all the stores was really delivering anyway. But I had just got into having it delivered. Like my daughters and my nieces was like, oh, auntie, you can get this delivered. And, they were teaching me. And so it was a lot. And for 2 years, it was like for 2 years, I couldn't really move around. I couldn't really go anywhere. Even, churches were shut down. And so, it was real difficult. And that really set me back a lot. Okay, it set me back a lot because when I wanted to get up and walk, I couldn't even walk. Because like I say, this condition, I demands that I get up and move. Okay, and I'm going to teach you all a lot about that too. And how the body is like a car, it's like a machine. You have to get up and move. Your blood is like the oil of an engine, and it'll get stagnant. It'll get stagnant and sluggish, and so you have to move. It's not just all eat and sit down, which we know, basically most people know you can't just eat and never exercise. And even going to work, I had a job, I was a phlebotomist for a blood bank for 14 years, and I was running around the whole hospital for 14 years. I hadn't lost any weight, and I wasn't really in shape, but I was always moving. And it's funny, though, how that works, where you can be running around for years and you never lose any weight because it depends on what you're putting in your body. Plus, I was smoking. And I wasn't taking care of myself. I wasn't big. I never weighed more than 130 pounds until after I got sick. So, which is like, I was weighing like an 8, 9, and 10. And so I wasn't big, but I wasn't healthy. And when I got sick, all of that just come down on me. When you got to sit down, you prednisone, all that. It's a lot. It's a lot. Okay? And glory be to God. He has taken care of me. He has taken care of me. He has sent people to take care of me. Yeah, really taking care of me. Okay, which brings me to our lesson, is that we talked about last week how, how I grew up. I grew up in a household with 2 parents who loved me. They were, for the most part, my parents were good parents. They were good parents. They loved us. They loved us. My mom and my daddy, they loved us. They stayed together for us. Okay? That was back in the day, when your parents stayed together for you no matter what happened. I know some people who said, the father had 2 and 3 families and, but they never divorced. They never divorced. And so, that's where I come from. And my mom was sick. My mom suffered from mental illness. But my mom was a brilliant woman. She went to college. She went to Jackson State University. She left there to marry my dad, her high school sweetheart, her childhood sweetheart. They grew up together, and she had nervous breakdown, more than one. My daddy wasn't going to leave her, and he wasn't going to leave us. It was 5 of us. But we grew up in projects in Chicago, and it was hard when you don't have your wife. That's another story. I believe that I could teach a lesson on that, on marriage and how 2 people need to be there to raise children and how they're affected when one is not there. A lot of times we talk about how the daddy is outside the home and how the children grow up, especially boys, without a daddy. But I'm going to tell you something. The boys need their mama just as much. They need their mama just as much. Yes, they do. And because I'm a witness. I have 2 brothers. One of them, like I mentioned last week, committed suicide. There's a lot of confusion. And my daddy was always working, but he spent a lot of time with us. But the time needs to be quality time. I'm not complaining, because he spent a lot of time with us. He didn't run in the street. If he did, it was when we were babies before my mama got sick. And I can call my daddy, and he was coming home from work. In the next 15 minutes, he'd be there. When my mama would be going off the deep end, I'd run out and to my girlfriend's house, which wound up being my godmother, and call my daddy, his job, and he'd be home like that. That's the kind of daddy I had. And so I don't want to paint a picture, the wrong picture of my daddy, of my parents. But, the truth is, it's no perfect situation. It's no perfect situation. But I would not trade my parents for nothing and nobody else's parents. I never had that thought that I wished I had somebody else's parents. I know children who grew up and wish they had other people to be their parents. I never did. I was always studying my parents, watching them, listening to their conversations and stuff. I was watching my mother when she was doing her housework and she used to talk to herself. I used to listen. And she's washing her clothes, washing our clothes, she's cooking the meals, cleaning up, sweeping, mopping. But she talked to herself. She didn't talk to us. Unless it was something, like she was combing our hair, bathing us, feeding us, she used to talk to herself. And it was mostly just reminiscing, mostly about stuff that had happened in her life. And so I never thought that because I grew up in a house where, she did physically, abuse us because, her mind, she was, hear things and she would get confused and, she was, and plus she used to drink because my daddy used to buy her liquor. And so, but I never thought that I had a problem because of that it affected me. See, so I never used that, as an excuse, as a crutch. Okay, although I did pick up bad habits. I did smoke cigarettes. I started smoking cigarettes at an early age because of the situation that we lived in. I would worry about what's going to happen. Because it was like every day was a different day. You didn't know when all hell or heck was going to break loose. Okay. You didn't know. So I was the one that would worry because I was the knee baby. I was next to the last. But I was the one that would run to call to get help because my older sisters and brothers, they didn't. So I didn't know that was affecting me. I didn't know that I could be affected by that. I mean, at least I didn't think that it would be a situation like that would create a situation that I would wind up, on drugs and pregnant. I didn't think it would lead to something like that, But it's a lot of little kids. I feel sorry for them because I know. I feel sorry for these little kids that grew up in a house with their mom on crack. I did crack. I feel sorry for them because I know how they feel when their mama ain't there. Nobody's there. And my mama was there, okay? But I know these little kids today, their mama's on crack or their mama on heroin, and they in the house, and, maybe it's some food, maybe it's not. And they not taking care of them, like they got to go to school, and maybe their hair ain't combed, their clothes ain't clean, and they don't want to go, and they're embarrassed. That breaks my heart. Because it was days like that for us. But my mama didn't comb my hair. She would plait our hair, and she didn't take it down every day and comb my hair every day. And it was days when, maybe we didn't have decent clothes. Because my daddy, my older sister said he was cheap. But he kept us fed, he kept us housed, lights on, eat. And so my heart cries a lot of days. Even today, I wake up some mornings and I feel like a depression trying to come on me. And I don't have no reason to be depressed. I have every reason because I'm blessed. But I feel my heart will go out for a situation. And I wake up and I have to tell myself that I'm blessed and that God is in control and that He's going to take care of those kids. That He's going to take care of those kids. And so this is the reason why God wouldn't leave me alone. That the Holy Spirit's like, you got to get that off of you. You got to open your mouth and get that off of you. Because the longer I kept it in, the more depressed I was getting, because I know they're suffering. I know you're suffering. If you one of those people, I relate to that suffering, that type of suffering. And I want you to know that your suffering doesn't have to be in vain. That God hears your suffering. He knows your pain. And He doesn't want you suffering. Not alone anyway. He doesn't want you suffering alone. He wants your sister Janet to come alongside you, okay, to let you know that you're not alone and that I hear you, okay? I hear you, I see you. Yes, He does. I have a sister, my baby sister, who she suffered a lot at the hands of my mom. And I can't stand to see anybody suffering for neglect, physical abuse. Yes, so many children in DCFS custody. This is sad. This is so sad for me, and I take it very personally. Yes, I do. I take it very personal. And so I know now, and like I said last week, I know now why God wouldn't leave me alone. Because I just like, hey, after what happened to me, and after I felt like I had thrown my life away on some cigarettes, you mean I could overcome a drug addiction? I can get off of cocaine, marijuana and cocaine, even did some crack, but I can't get off of cigarettes, and I wind up on oxygen. I was depressed. That depressed me. That depresses me. Okay? But I had to learn how to give it to God. I had to learn how to give it to God, because I'm like, oh my God, what have I done? What have I done? So this is what he wouldn't leave me alone. You know, I mean, some nights I would wake up 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and he was, write this down, write that down, write this down. And I was creating a lot of stuff, and I'm like, why is he introducing me to teachers, you know, through social media, you know, because I didn't even pay Christian TV any attention until I moved into my house. That was back in the end of 2010, 2011. T.D. Jakes and Creflo Dollar. I didn't know who these people were. See, God was ordering my steps. I didn't know who these people were. But Rabbi Lappin, him and his wife Susan, opened my eyes, answered my questions. You know, I had questions. They was answering my questions without me even asking. So I knew I was in the right place, and I knew that God was doing something. I just couldn't get a grip. I couldn't get a grip on my emotions. And so, a lot has transpired. My mom passed away 2006. My dad passed away in 2010, the end of 2010, October 2010. And my whole world was rocked. So, a lot has happened. And God was just not leaving me alone. Because I was trying to just sit back and say, oh, wait, when I got to this point, I thought I was going to just sit back, and maybe I was going to be on disability, for the rest of my life, and I was going to sit back, and that was going to be that. God, no, He wouldn't let me. Refused to let me sit down and mind my own business and just watch cable TV all day long. Nope. I don't think so. I don't think so. I think you better get that Bible. I think you better get up. So, like I said last week, we talked about an introduction for people who don't know me, who finds this video, who don't know me, that my name is Janet, and I'm from Chicago. I grew up in Cabrini Green, the famous Cabrini Green. Should I say infamous Cabrini Green? And in a household with my parents, my brothers and my sisters. I have one brother who committed suicide and one brother who left home and didn't come back. Has not come back to this day. Well, he came back once. He left in 1970s. I'm giving it all. I'm giving it all. Okay? I'm telling the truth, and I'm giving it all because somebody needs to hear it, because your situation is not unique. He left in 1977. My other brother, his best friend in the world, because, two brothers, 2 years apart, they were 2 years apart, committed suicide the next year. So you can imagine his devastation. That you go away for a year and your baby brother commits suicide. He is angry. And he said he wasn't going to come back, and he didn't. Not even when my parents died. Not even when my parents died. So, imagine the devastation. Okay? We kept in touch with him. Wherever he moved, we kept in touch with him through the phone. And we were still close at heart. And we still close at heart. But he has distanced himself so much from us that he can't find his way back. It's me and my two sisters left. And we could open our arms to him if we needed to. But he won't find his way. Well, he can't find his way back. Now, it's not too late. But he can't find his way back here. And so, this is the devastation. And I've met people along the way in my career, in my work, that has told me the same thing has happened in their family. That they have a brother or relative, sibling, that left home and never came back. And it even happened in my dad's family. He had 2 uncles. Well, he had a couple of uncles, should I say, that left their hometown in Mississippi and never came back. And that's just sad. But that's a reality. And I'm definitely into staying in reality. Okay? I don't want to be lost in what I think anything should be. I know some things should be in order to be better. Doesn't mean that it has to be that way. Okay? But some things can exist to be better, to create a better environment, a better situation. I know that. Maybe somebody might say, well, better for me. Yeah, better for me, better for you too, if your situation is not ideal. I mean, a lot of people have situations that they deal with. Doesn't mean that it's the ideal situation. Can be better. So, but yeah, that was the beginning. That was the beginning. And it was hard growing up in a house, where, you had these sort of explosive incidents periodically. I can't say like how often, if it was every other day or weekly, I can't say. But my mom was constantly in and out of the mental hospital as I grew up. I didn't know why. I didn't even know what type of hospital she was in until I reached a certain age. And by the time I reached a certain age to understand, she was much better because we were bigger and we were less of a burden. Because her situation came because she was worried, and she didn't know how she was. It was difficult for her leaving Mississippi, coming here with my dad, and in less than, let me see, I think it was 8 years. She had 5 kids, and 3 of us was back to back to back. And my daddy was out the house all the time, called himself working and having a pool hall. He told me the story. He felt bad. He understood. It was too late after she had more than one mental nervous breakdown. See, but he wouldn't have known what was going on unless she got sick. And when she got sick, and by the time you get her to the hospital, and they ask you 1,000 questions, and they let you know she's mentally exhausted, what they call mentally exhausted, mentally and physically exhausted, especially with worry. My dad said my mama wanted to go back to Mississippi because it was she didn't have any help. She had aunties. Her aunties was much older than her, so she didn't have any help with like babysitting. You know how when your children get married and have kids, have children, you help them. I did. I stayed off work to help my daughter. When I got my first grandson, I stayed off work for a week to help my daughter. I fixed the bedroom up, and I did all of that, to help her, because my mama was at home helping me. I was a girl. I was 17 when I got pregnant, but my mama was there teaching me. And even though I got pregnant at 17, God used that to help my parents, because my older brother left Chicago to go to the Air Force in 77. My younger brother committed suicide in 78. And I had my daughter in 79. And so God used that to comfort them. He used that little baby girl to comfort them. And she did. She comforted them. She helped them. And my dad started planning on how he was going to move out of the projects. And he did. He bought a building, and he got us out of the projects, because my mama was never the same there no more. Because when my brother committed suicide, he jumped out of the window in the projects, 13 stories, to his death from one of the bedrooms. And my dad was determined to get his wife out of that apartment. He was determined. He was a good man. My dad was a good man. I miss him so much. I miss my mama too. Because my mama she was Southern Belle, and she just quiet, and she just was overwhelmed. Today they say that's like postpartum depression or something like that. And they didn't have that they didn't know about that in the 60s. Because she had us. My brother, the one committed suicide in 61. Here I come in 62. We was 11 months apart. And then my baby sister, came in 63. That was too much. And then the one before, the other brother, he was 2 years old. He was just 2 years older than the other baby brother. So imagine you got a 4-year-old. How should I put it? No, just say a 5. Let me see, because Brand is 3 years older than me. Oh yeah, okay, 4-year-old, a 2-year-old, a 1-year-old, and then you just dropping a newborn. That's too much. I have a nervous breakdown too. I would. I have a nervous breakdown too. And so when you see them young girls walking down the street with all them babies, and she yelling and screaming at them, next time when you see her, just try to help her. Don't criticize her. Just try to help her, because it's too much. Even though she shouldn't have did it, it's too much. And she shouldn't have did it. But she need help. That's for sure. And then they going out getting these boyfriends, and these boyfriends supposed to be helping them. And some of them wind up killing their children. That's another whole story that I can't even speak to because without my heart bursting out of my chest. So, um, yeah, I remember once I was after we moved out of projects, and we was living in my daddy's building, and I was living on it was my family. My older sister lived on the first floor. I lived on the second floor, and my parents wanted to be upstairs because they didn't want the kids running over their head, which to me that wasn't a good idea. In the end, they should have been on the first floor. So anyway, they was on the third floor, and this one summer, one of my nephews came to stay with us, and he was like 4 years younger than my daughter. And so it was one day, we were upstairs, and they were both fighting over my lap to sit on my lap. And then my mama said she was watching me, and I was saying, it's okay, come on. And she came over to me and she said, just imagine if you had 4 of them fighting over you. And I understood what she was trying to tell me. And I kind of made her laugh. I told her a story about the lady next door, a young lady next door, which is one, she was a friend of mine. We were neighbors and we were, friendly. She had 5 children. And they were kind of stair-steppy. Can't remember at this moment, but I know their ages. I love them. I love those kids. I told my mom, I said, well, Mom, today, you don't have to worry about these girls today. These girls today, they not like it was when you had us. I said, because these little girls today, the little kids, they in the house, they fixing their own meal. And I remember that one of them name was Chrissy. And she would come to the house looking for her mama if her mama was at my house. And she would say, Mama, what we gonna eat? I love Chrissy because Chrissy was like me. Chrissy was open her mouth. You have to have one in the bunch that's gonna open their mouth. And not just climb up on the cabinet and grab down whatever they can get. Because you got to have one of them too. That if mama ain't there, one that's able to climb up on the cabinet and grab a can or something and try to open it. But Chrissy was the one that would say, Mama, what are we going to eat? And I told my mama, I said, so you don't have to worry. These women today, they're not having, nervous breakdowns and working hard like you did with us. I said, because the mother be sitting down sucking her fingers while the kids be up fixing them some cereal, fixing them a bowl of cereal, or eating a bologna sandwich or whatever, a piece of bread or whatever, And so she kind of laughed. I said, yeah. I said, my friend next door, she suck her fingers. She, how people suck their fingers? She suck her fingers and she rocked. And so I said, so a lot of these girls today, they ain't stressing. They keeping it moving. And so, I think that kind of made her feel better, because to know, that somebody, I'm pretty sure somebody's out there somewhere, that's having, they having a hard time because we got 4 little children and you trying to, even if you don't work outside of the home, but even in the home, that's hard, right? When you got 4 kids and you got to bathe them all, you got to do everything, especially if they all around the same age. That's hard work. Okay, contrary to what maybe anybody would say, that's hard work. And but I think it made her feel better to know that it's okay. It'll be okay no matter what, If I'm sitting down, sucking my fingers, giving directions, it's all right, So, but yes, it was a lot, growing up, and I did wind up, I never blamed him, for my situation, even when I did finally make it to recovery, because I did make my way to Alcoholics Anonymous and Narcotics Anonymous. Praise God, I did. And I was like, I was getting ready to say I was the first one in my family to go for help, but I don't think I was the first one, because my older sister, she went too. But she didn't go like for treatment. She went to the program, you know. And they say, you know, if you make a meeting every day for a year, you can stay clean. But I don't agree with that, because it takes work. It don't just take going to a meeting every day. Sitting in a meeting, and you probably don't, and I know my sister, she probably never even talked, because she don't really talk like that. You know, it takes more than that, you know, and it just does. It takes more than just sitting in a meeting, you know, every day. One meeting a day, well, a year. It takes more than that, even though they tell you need to do that. And I did that. And I also did inpatient, 30-day inpatient, with extensive psychological counseling. All of that. I did all of that. And I even lived in a recovery home for 5 months. But that didn't stop me from going out and, how you say, having a relapse. I don't even like the word relapse, because I don't, you know, they say it's a thing when it's a relapse when you slip and you go back after you've been sober a certain amount of days, months, or even years, and then you slip up. They say that's a relapse. But I don't consider a relapse based on that. I think it's deeper than that, because I remember when I was living in a recovery home, I had a drug dream. It's called a drug dream. I dreamt that I was getting high. And I got up out the bed and went and bought some drugs. But it didn't do anything for me. As a matter of fact, it made me sad. I got sad. So I didn't do it anymore. And it didn't even faze me, you know what I mean? So that's why I believe relapse is more than just the physical going to get high. I believe it's deeper. Because that didn't do anything for me. And I was like feeling bad. I wasn't ashamed, but I felt miserable, because I felt like I had to start over. And then I had another one. After I left the recovery home, I stayed in the recovery home for 5 months. I wound up leaving the recovery home because my daughter was a teenager. She had just turned 16. And she was 15 going on 16. And I found out that she wasn't coming home at a curfew, because I was over at my apartment, because I paid rent at the recovery home and in my apartment in my daddy's building at the same time, because I was working, but I was off work for those 3 months before I went to move into the recovery. I had, you know, I was able, God bless me, I was able to pay 2 rents. And on my days off, me and my boyfriend would go to my apartment and spend time together. This one particular time, Miss Rolanda didn't come home. My daughter, I shouldn't say her name. She didn't come home for her curfew. And I had curfew back at the recovery home. So I had tried to wait on her, my daughter, to come home, and she never did come home in time for the curfew. So I had to ride real quick, which it wasn't far, to the recovery home and let the, I forget what you call the person in the recovery home. I had to let her know that my daughter wasn't at home at her curfew, and that I was going to be late for curfew, but I wanted her to know. I said, so I'll be back. And I left and went back. I don't remember if she was trying to give me a hard time, and I can't remember, because I didn't care. I was just caring about my daughter at that time. So anyway, and I found she eventually came home straggling, like she didn't know what time it was, almost midnight on a weekday. So anyway, I wound up telling them that it was time for me to go home because my daddy and my mama was not babysitting my child. My child was a teenager. She was just on her own. She would come to the recovery home after school to visit me in the evening when she got out of school, to visit me, spend time with me, and then, she was supposed to be going home and being home at her curfew. And she wasn't, because she had her mama. There wasn't no mama watching her. But what I did was I had her aunts on her dad's side. I had her go stay with them until I graduated out of the house, because you can't just leave the house when you're in the recovery home. You have to graduate out of the house. And so I had her go stay with them, which she, didn't want to, but I made her. And so until I graduated, and so I eventually graduated out of the recovery home, and I came home and everything was good. And I wound up having another relapse because I went to my sister's house for the holiday and we cooked together at her place when she was staying on the north side. It wasn't good. As a matter of fact, what's that? I don't know if that was before I found out I had a brain tumor, because I've had a lot of situations, where God has really taken care of me, healed me, and protected me. I had a brain tumor and everything. So God has really protected me. And I'm saying all of this, it's like I say, I'm telling you the truth, that I did it. I did it, Okay? I started out smoking cigarettes and then smoking marijuana. How I started smoking marijuana, my sister and her boyfriend used to sell marijuana, little tray bags, and I used to steal them. That's how I started smoking it. Even though I had some friends who had older sisters and brothers, they smoked, they wouldn't give it to us though, because we was like 12 and 13, so they wasn't giving us marijuana, which was good. And I was glad I could look back and say that no older person gave it to me. And that's how I got hooked on it. I can't blame somebody. Okay? That's not my story. My story is me. It's my fault. And like I said, and my sister, I stole it. I know I stole more than one. I can't say how many, but I know I stole more than one. And that's how I wound up. I ain't even know how to roll this stuff, but I figured it out. Same way with the cigarettes. I figured it out. I used to watch my mama smoke. One time she asked me to go light a cigarette on the stove. I tried to do what she did and got in trouble because I put my mouth on it, trying to light it like some people, they put their mouth on it and go to the stove, and I got wet, and she got mad at me. She never asked me to do it again. She realized what she did. You shouldn't ask kids to do that. And she realized she shouldn't have done that. And I should have turned that light on because it's looking a little dark and it's a little gloomy out here in Chicago today. And that's how I learned how to smoke. And you learn how to smoke from watching. My daughter learned how to smoke from watching me, which hurt me to my soul, but it's my fault because I smoked in front of her. And she started smoking. She was an adult. She was in her 20s. And I'm like, if you make it to your 20s without smoking, you shouldn't smoke. But she did. And that's my fault. But she says it's not, but it is. She says it's not. She tried. When I first found out, I was crying, and she was like, "It's not your fault, Mom. I'm grown enough to know." I'm like, "Yeah, but it is," and I knew it was. So, that's another thing. We got to learn how to accept responsibility for what we have exposed our children to. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Excuse me. This oxygen make you real dry. You know, your body temperature is warm, 98.6, and normal body temperature. And it's a lot of chemical reactions going on in the body. And so the body is in this oxygen blowing in there, and it's dry, it gets dry. So I'm supposed to drink plenty of fluids all day long. Which everybody's supposed to drink fluids all day long because that helps the secretions and the mucus and everything, you know. So, but yeah, I've had my share, you know. And like I was saying, I didn't know that, you know, because I grew up in a house where my mom and my daddy smoked, even though my daddy stopped smoking when I was 9 years old. I'll never forget that. And that's significant because my nephew was born when I was 9 and my daddy stopped smoking and he was 40 years old. And I was supposed to stop when I made 40, but I didn't. And he used to say it too, you're going to stop, like, you're going to be like your dad, right? You're going to stop, right? And then he used to say, you ain't going to stop, you're going to be like your mama. He used to say that. He used to say, y'all ain't like me, I could try something and stop. That's what he used to say. Just try it and move on. But anyway, that's how I got started. I wanted to make that clear. Okay, that's how I got started, and it was nobody forcing it on me, influencing me. It was my own, you know, curiosity. Like they say, the childhood story say curiosity killed the cat. It does. So yeah. And for so long, for so long, it has taken me basically my whole life. It's taken me basically my whole life to realize that I'm supposed to be living a life worthy of the breath in my body. I mean, I had plenty of people to tell me, you should stop smoking. Or don't smoke before you come over here. I had one girlfriend who used to say, don't smoke before you come over my house because you couldn't stand cigarette smoke. And I had other people to say, you can't smoke in my house. But that never bothered me. To me, it was just a matter of respect, you know. And it never bothered me. But no, I never had anybody to say, those cigarettes are killing you. And I'm not saying that would have even been enough because the warning was on the package. Okay? But I've never had anybody to tell me that. And so I want to tell you all, who's ever listening, who's ever doing anything contrary to living a healthy life, that is killing you. So whatever you're doing, whether it's alcohol, cigarettes, smoking marijuana, cocaine, heroin, doesn't matter. Even cursing out your mouth, okay? Even speaking nasty, out your mouth. In doing anything, okay, that hinders your growth. It's not good. It's bad for your life. It's bad for your life. I want to say that to whosoever. Okay? And that I care about your life. And that I'm not Even I just had a gentleman in my building yesterday to tell me he didn't care. He didn't care. Wasn't nobody gonna stop him from smoking and drinking. Because, that's another story. I'll get to that, but I did, I didn't really ask him to stop smoking and drinking, but I asked about somebody else. I asked where this other individual was at. And he said the person was at dialysis. And he was just there last Thursday because we played bingo on Thursday. He had a beer. And I asked him not to drink the beer in the bingo. And this mister got smart. So I didn't say anything to him because he didn't have a can of beer or a bottle of beer. But this guy did. Who's a friend of his that he brought down to bingo. So when he said the man was at dialysis, I was like, he's on dialysis and he's drinking liquor. Does he know that that's going to kill him? And so then this guy who I was talking with, he went on to say, well, ain't nobody going to stop me, blah, 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 blah. No, I said, well, you shorten your own life. Well, that's what life is. You born to die. So anyway, that's another story because I did tell him, no, you're not born to die. You're born to live and then you die. It's something in between life and death. Okay, it's something in between there. So anyway, I'm not afraid to engage you. You might yell at me, and you might tell me to mind my own business, but that don't stop me. Because when you tell me to mind my own business, I do. I do. I just do. I do. I say, okay, I shut up. I'm not trying to force it down your throat. Maybe you don't know alcohol killing you. Okay? Maybe you don't know. Or maybe you like me. You're taking advantage of the goodness of God, because that's what I did. See, I took advantage of the goodness of God. I have to admit the truth. I knew I took advantage of the goodness of God. I know plenty of people that's 80 years old still smoking, and they still walking. They ain't on oxygen. They not on oxygen. And so why did I think I was supposed to be on an exception? I should have known, because I've never gotten away with anything. My daddy didn't let me get away with anything. Even in school, I never got away with anything. I could tell you occasion after occasion, I didn't get away with anything. I can tell you how, even in nursing school, okay, I got a scholarship to nursing school through my job, and how I was put out the class. I wasn't in the class. I was running to get in the class, and I came a minute or 2 minutes late and was put out. Told me to go back out. And when I did get a chance to talk with her, because she made me step out until because we would meet in report before clinical. So we had to get there, and we would meet 30-minute report where we would get our assignments before we went on the floor. And so I had to sit out while they did report. And when they got finished, she talked with me, and after I got finished crying, yelling and crying, and telling her how she let all types of people come in late, only thing she said was, "You not them." And so all I could say to that was, okay, Eamon McIntosh, because my father never let me get away with anything when other people did. Because you're not them. That was the answer. Because you're not them. And so I'm not surprised God wouldn't let me get away with anything. I'm late, but I'm not surprised. I'm angry about it, but I'm not surprised. That other folks are still smoking and walking, but I'm not. They still drinking and drugging, and I'm not. Because God used who He make. Okay? And that's how that go. And that's just it. That's just it. He uses who He makes. According to His word, Romans 9:1. He's the potter and I'm the clay. It's what He said. It's not what I say. And it's not what I thought. You thought you was going to do like other people. Just keep smoking and smoking until you kill yourself. Well, I don't think so. I'll stop you. And if I have to choke the life out of you, to sit you down, save your life. That's what He did. That's what He did. That's what He did. And it's His good pleasure to do what He wants, when He wants. To create one for one job and one for another job. But He says in His word not to despair. I am with you. Below, I am with you. I will never leave you nor forsake you. And it has taken me quite a few years to trust Him. But you can trust Him. You can trust Him with your life. It has taken me quite a few years, but I trust Him. And you can trust Him too. And you can come to Him. He's waiting. And He's calling you. It says, no man comes to the Father unless He draw him. Unless He draw him. So if you're not with your Heavenly Father, if you're not part of His heavenly kingdom, ask yourself why. Ask yourself why. Is it because He's not calling you or you're not listening? Do you feel embarrassed or condemned? Do you think if you would turn your life to Him that you would be admitting that you've done something wrong? Well, that leads me to this last scripture, Romans 8:1, that says that there is no condemnation to them that are called according to His purpose. So you don't have to feel condemned. Because I felt condemned. I felt like a failure for a very, very long time. I said, how could you be so dumb? You work almost 30 years. But He doesn't want you to feel condemned, just like He didn't want me to feel condemned. And He has used the Holy Spirit to help heal me, to give me peace. And He has provided for me. And He is making me. He is healing me. Because I couldn't even get around. I could barely walk. And so He wants you to know When you're ready, he's there waiting for you. Okay? He wants you there. He wants you with him to be part of his kingdom. And so, if you know somebody who's feeling condemned, who's afraid, who's feeling like hopeless and helpless, and don't know how they're going to start over, share this message. Share this message and show them. So Sister Janet is sharing. Okay? So if you like what you hear, come back. Okay? Come back. I want you to hit the like button. I want you to comment. Give me your comment. Send me your comment. Hopefully it's something good or something that I could help you with. And share the video. Share the video so somebody else could be uplifted. Somebody else can know that they're not alone. In the mighty name of Jesus. That's what we're here for. That's what God called his people for. To be there. To help guide people to his kingdom. So, I want to say, I hope to see you all next time. Come back. And we're going to share some more. Okay? I'm going to share some more insight. I'm going to talk more about the AA program. Okay? I'm going to talk about my experience. I'm going to talk about how much that program is God inspired. So, I'll see you all next time. Have a blessed week.